welcome. Thank you for being here. As a baseline, if you will, the web interface, you can think of the web interface as the simplified interface to the access to the Atrium system. It's all the different menu features and items that are possible are not necessarily displayed in the web interface. Take the web interface as an end user interface, the simplified thing. The way I look at it as the technical trainer and that's been dealing with this on a day-to-day basis, my personal view, if you will, when I can need to access the system, if the task at hand that I need to to accomplish, I can accomplish that task through the web interface. I go through the web interface. My web interface is my go-to. When the web interface does not suffice for the task that I need to accomplish, what I want to do, get done here, then I go into the software. So the software is your advanced interface. Anything you see in the web, you'll have it in software, in addition to some of the advanced bells and whistles. So with that said, in the web interface, as far as the door menu is concerned, we're in the doors right now. So I've got one controller, two-door system. Um, Interacting with your system. How can I, for example, answer a very common question? Unlock all the doors at once. I need to do that, or I need to lock all the doors at once. Without having to do every one individually. The all doors button. Um, Clicking on that, you'll have your grant access, disable access, and we see a few other options here. And whatever these options are will apply to all the doors in my system. So to quickly permit people to evacuate for whatever reason that may be, I could go to the system, I can log into the system and unlock all the doors. Individually, you can also do the task by clicking on the padlock for each door in your list. You see the same commands. So granting access, whether it's the all doors or any individual doors, will unlock the door for the unlock time defined in the system. That's a 5-second unlock time. So you see the padlock here. It unlocks the door. Think of it as buzzing someone in. They rang the doorbell. You need to let them in. That type of concept. That's what grant access is. So it unlocks the door, and after 5 seconds, it'll relock the door. Disable access will stop the door from reading any card in the system. You're deactivating, if you will, the reader at that particular door. So very high priority type thing, disabling access to your door. When we enable that option, we should see, now you notice that the status of my door has changed. Okay, so this indicates that the reader is disabled. And if you hover, as I'm doing now, you see that little pop-up bubble, if you will, indicating that the door is disabled, the name of the door, and so on and so forth. If I go to the other door, you see that it's closed, all that information. Okay, so that's right now I'm disabled. To re-enable it, so a very quick way to stop anybody from accessing a door, just simply disable that door. Unlock and lock commands. These are override commands. These are top level priority. So as an operator that's logged into the system, if I decide that I want to unlock the door, it will remain unlocked until I decide that I don't want it to be unlocked anymore. And one of the things, if you do the lock or unlock override commands, when you do either of these, I'll just show you here. I'll just lock a door that's already locked through the override. You notice that the padlock begins blinking. This indicates that this is a manual command that was issued by an operator to override the lock status. And this is a permanent condition until you return and set it back. Typically, not to here I've unlocked. I will not do lock override. I will return it to its normal state. In previous versions of the Atrium interface, whether it's the software or the web interface, this is the latest and greatest, version 5. Previous editions, if you're familiar, if you've installed these, the normal state command that we see here, that's the reset command that you see in previous versions of this product. So just to give you a heads up, if you're not too familiar, this is the latest one. You don't have it. It doesn't look exactly like this, very similar, but the normal state is your reset command. So whenever you do an override command, whether it's unlock and relock, to get it back to its normal day-to-day status, go back to its normal state. and normal state. So for example, those override commands, if I decided to unlock and override, it will remain unlocked. Let's say a scenario, I have an unlock schedule on my door, and on Friday afternoon, we're going to close shop early, and I want to leave, and I'm the last person in the building. I want to lock that door because it's, it's not 5 o'clock. We're leaving earlier than the normal time, so thank God, whatever the case may be. I would come here and lock the door, for example, with an override command. Now, Friday afternoon, 3 o'clock, everybody's gone home. I've issued this command. My schedule that's unlocking this door is from Monday to Friday, let's say from 8 to 5. On Monday morning, typically at 8 o'clock, there's an unlock schedule. That door should unlock. However, on Friday, when I locked the door before the end of the unlock schedule, I overrode that schedule, and it'll remain in override. So on Monday morning, in other words, at 8 o'clock, when the door should unlock, unless I've returned it to its normal state before Monday morning, 8 o'clock, at 8 o'clock in the morning, it's still in override status. The door will remain locked. You override the schedule for your unlocked door. So these two are high priority commands. Buzzing someone in, grant access. We saw the disable, stops reading cards, and the lock and unlock. These are high priority, and you'll go back to its normal day-to-day situation. Simply choose normal state. All right, so those are the quick commands. Just quickly in the menus, very bare bones menu here for your door definition. You could name your door if you would like, and this is typically you want to do that. I won't do it at this point. I'll do it in the software, but this is one of the options of the web that you could actually name your doors, create or select an unlock schedule for your door if you wanted to follow a schedule. And over here is unlock on first access. So for example, this is first man in by, for example, this unlock on first access. I've got a schedule here from 8 to 5, Monday to Friday. The option is if no one shows up at the office, I don't want that door to unlock at 8 o'clock. So we need to keep the door locked until someone shows up. So if I say unlock on first access to no, the schedule will, at 8 o'clock in the morning, automatically unlock the door because the schedule has now become valid. If I say yes on this option here, the schedule at 8 o'clock in the morning will look, has anybody, starting at 8 o'clock sharp, the door will not unlock. It'll remain locked until someone with valid access presents their card at that door after 8 o'clock in the morning, after the schedule has begun. So wait until the first person comes in after the schedule begins before you follow your schedule. So if I show up at 8:30, the door will not unlock at 8 o'clock. It'll wait until I show up, and then at 8:30, because I swiped my card at that time, I'll unlock until the end of my schedule. Following day, if I show up at before 8 o'clock, so my access rights allow me access, let's say from 7 till 8, 7 in the morning till 8 in the evening. I went into work, but it was before 8 o'clock. When I swipe my card, I'm allowed in at 7 and until 8 o'clock in the evening. When I swipe my card, I will be permitted access. It's not 8 o'clock in the morning yet, so the door will allow me access. It'll unlock for 5 seconds, and when it recloses, it'll relock. At 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm inside the building. I will need to return to that door after the 8 o'clock schedule has begun and swipe a valid card, whether it's mine or another card that happens to be valid at that time. The next valid card swipe after the schedule has begun, that's when the schedule will be activated for that particular day. So unlock on first access, the term that's commonly used is your first man in option. So remember that very often you look at this for example, in case of snow days, in case of if you have a continuous traffic issues trying to get into the office on time, that kind of stuff. This is where these options become interesting. However, this, I would just want to give you a bit of a heads up. The caveat, if you will, is that it doesn't snow every day. So most days you don't have to keep the door locked after 8 o'clock, because most days I do go to work and I'm on time. So at 8 o'clock, I'll have to go to that door to implement the schedule. So there's two sides to the coin. Remember, it's very secure. If no one shows up, well, I know that my door remains locked. My building is secure. until someone shows up. That wouldn't mean I need to set this to yes. However, on every day that it's not a snow day or that I haven't had any issues with traffic, when I come in before 8 o'clock, my card gives me access. Well, at 8 o'clock in the morning, if I want that door to follow its schedule, I'll need to go back to that door. Okay, so that's all of it that we have here in the configuration in the web interface. So being able to set your schedule and if you want to do that first man in option, yes or no. In addition to that, just to finalize here, the events. I think this is interesting for many people that are not familiar with the product. Who's been in my door? Who accessed my door? That's a very common question. Who went into there? This will give you a list of all the events for that particular door. Think of it as a report, a filtered report where I want to know what's happening at that door. So we see here the door was unlocked by the user installer. It was enabled, disabled. That's when I was flicking the status lock override and all that. So you see all the events related to that door. If I come back, I go to the other door. I think I was on door 2. If I go to the door 1, see the events for that door. Now these events can also be printed out. Right now you can either view 20 events per page or 40 events. I've got it set to 40. If you scroll down and there's more than 40 events, you can go to the next page and so on and so forth. Okay. So you can print out these reports. Just and here's your print diagram. It's text. It's very plain, and so on and so forth. So right now we would have 3 pages for this particular report. All right. In the newest edition, what I'm running right now, version 5 with the crypto A22K panel and environment, if you will, ecosystem. In the event screen, and this is not only in the door events, but you'll notice there are now hyperlinks that I can click on in the event text. So if I click on the door 1 over here. Okay, and let me get that. There we go. It brings me to the actual menu of the thing I clicked on, user administrator. If I click on that, it brings me to the administrator. So it's a hyperlink, if you will, to the actual object that you're clicking on, a shortcut, in other words, from the event screen. So that pretty much, without going off on all sorts of tangents here, in the events for your doors. Okay, your lock and unlock, your all doors, and so on and so forth. Okay. So that gives you a good overview of the status and the capabilities in the web. Very simple, very straightforward, your day-to-day management type things. However, we want to configure the system. We want to do some advanced options and so on and so forth. So this is where you'll be able to explore these options in the software interface. So I've got my ATRIUM software running, and I'm in the dashboard right now, and I've clicked on the doors icon to list my doors. Couple things I want to show you here. Just like we saw a moment ago in the web interface, I can interact manually with my doors through the software. We see the grant access button. You see the side here. So we see the different options that we saw. Now this is the reset. Now we saw that in the browser at this time, we have returned to normal, I think the term is, or normal state. In the software, it's the term is still reset. So you'll probably see that in older version browsers if you have an older system, if you don't have version 5. So this will be your thing. The lock status, this is your lock output, and the legend down here on your for each menu, it gives you the meaning of each icon that we're seeing. So this particular door is locked, both of them in this case. So if I, for example, we see that there's a blue padlock where it says locked by operator or unlocked by operator. So if I highlight this door and come here and say unlock, this is your permanent unlock that we were seeing in the software, in the web browser. So when I do that, this is the blue icon here, if you will, represents the flashing icon that we saw in the web interface. That's what we're looking at here. Okay. go back to normal. In the software, we use the reset term. In the web browser, that would be normal state. The status of your door, this is also real time. I have a demo unit here with a door contact on door 1. So here we see the status of my door. I've just forced that door open. So it's in alarm, it's forced. Close that door. Let me see if I can generate an access event, a request to exit. The door unlocked, and I open the door. Okay, the door is relocked. And after a certain amount of time, if that door has not closed, it'll generate a door open too long event. There'll be a warning signal after 45 seconds, and 15 seconds after that, a full-blown door ajar, a door alarm type situation. Okay. So real-time status of your lock. The access status that we see here, we see a little green card for each door. This is your disable access option. So if I highlight this door and I don't want anybody going through that door anymore, I'd simply click disable access. And the card, if you will, the access card is done. Now turned to red, it's been disabled. Okay. To re-enable access. So while it's disabled, no cards, nobody's cards, even if you have always access, all the cards will be refused. So high priority. When you're doing lockdown configuration, your lockdowns, what is the status of the lockdown? Is it activated? Is this door part of the lockdown configuration? And some more information that we see here, some text that we will find in the actual door menu. So the status of our doors, interacting with the door to grant accesses, use these options here. Extended access, that was not in the web interface. For people with physical disabilities that need a longer unlock time, think about stateside the ADA, the American Disabilities Act. This will allow an extended unlock time to a person that has been flagged in the system through the user menu that this person requires extra unlock time to be able to access a door after being granted access. Okay. So let's go in and explore more of this menu. Okay. So what we've done in order to not too much information, sometimes this is it's an overload. It's an informational overload. So we have this concept, as we saw in the web interface, very basic, very straightforward. We've implemented it, to a certain extent, the same type of concept in the software, in the web, in the software interface for the door menu, and also, if I'm not mistaken, in the user menus. So what we're seeing here is a bit more than what we saw in the web interface, where we can actually see which reader is associated to the door and which contacts. But dumb it down, if you will, keep it simple. We have our schedule option to unlock the door and that first man in. So same type of features with a couple more additional bits of information over to the right-hand side screen here. However, still very basic. I want to go all to the nuts and bolts. The advanced button is the one I'm looking for. Okay, now this is as much as you can get from the system in this menu. So let's start exploring that. The display name, that's the name of your door. Okay, so front entrance, for example. Oh boy, there goes my typing. They put that cap lock button too close to the A on my keyboard. Okay, so I want to name this door the front entrance, and I want to delve on this right off the bat here. The copy name to all. This copies, as we see the little bubble that we see on screen, the door display name to the display name of the area associated to that door, the door contact input associated with that door, the door reader, the request to exit input, and the lock output. It'll copy the name that I'm putting in here to associate and be more user-friendly, if you will, when I deal with the product, the hardware that's associated. The hardware is associated to the front entrance. So here, when I click copy name to all, we'll see that the reader name will change to the front entrance for that controller. It will change to the front entrance contact for that particular door, the front entrance request to exit, and so on, including the door lock output. So in addition to that, it will also, I'll just move the screen down. Every door in the system creates its own area. And this is how we control access to those doors, is through the areas. So the name that I'm putting in here will also be copied to the area menu. So when I then eventually do my access levels, the name of the areas that appear in the access level menu will be the same as the door names. Once again, the whole simplifying process. So copy name to all. It's a nice little utility to simplify your programming, to have all that information associated to the same common door, if you will. All right, so we're seeing it change over here. The area has changed, the front contact, front entrance input, and so on and so forth. So that's copy name to all. Of course, moving along here, the enabled button. If I disable this option, the reader, the door will stop functioning. So this is a very high priority command, just like we saw in the actual commands when I'm interacting, locking, unlocking, we have the disable. Well, that's the same option here, if you will. We can do it through the menu. Okay. The unlock schedule we saw earlier through the web interface, same concept. Difference being here, we can also see a list of schedules. So if you prefer, instead of just the drop down menu that we see here, if you prefer, you can go this way. So either or, same difference. Okay. Unlocks on first man in. I explained the situation about the snow days and all that. So this option. Then the relocks on door open, relock on door close. This is only valid if you are monitoring your door with a door contact, if you're monitoring your door status. And effectively, what it does is relock on door open. As soon as I have either an access granted, or if the lock output has been activated, we unlock the door. As soon as the door opens, do we want to deactivate the lock output? This can become interesting when you're unlocking a door with a door strike, where you're activating the solenoid for 5 seconds by default. If this is the employee door and there's 500 employees going through there at least 5 or 6 times a day each, that strike will be working quite a bit. So one of the things that you can do to help minimize the wear and tear on the hardware of the actual strike is, we know that the strike is a free exit more often. You just turn the handle. And so when I leave, I don't want to unlock the door. And when I do come in with a card, as soon as I open that door after it's granted me access, stop activating the strike. So relock as soon as the door opens. Okay. So for what it's worth, it can be another additional feature, improving and discovering the intricacies of the door menu. This is one of the key ones, if you will, that, relocks on door close. Well, of course, the complete opposite of the first option. And this will typically be more often than not with a maglock. So as soon as the door closes, that's when you reactivate the maglock itself, when we send power to the lock. What will this implement? If you have any issues at a site where it's a maglock type door and you get feedback from your customers saying that the door slams every time they open the door, and when it comes to reclose, it's because the maglock is being reactivated in the last couple inches, inch or two, when the maglock, the armature, and the actual plate meet. It pulls it down and bang, bang, bang. So this one could be useful. Wait till the door is closed. Once again, this is why we have door contacts, among other reasons. This is another advantage of monitoring your door status. So door open, door close. Typically, door strike, door open, on maglock, door close. However, if I leave it here, this is the default value, relocks on door close. My unlock time, and I'll just come back to this in a moment, but the unlock time by default, when I have an access or request to exit, will unlock the door for 5 seconds. So if the door has been unlocked by a card access or request to exit, and someone happens to be chit-chatting, holding the door open, after 5 seconds, the lock output will reactivate. Okay, so these door open and door lock, door close options only work within the actual unlock time that we have here. So if you keep the door open for 15 seconds, well, of course, the door will have relocked after the lock output will have gone back to its normal state after 5 seconds. Can be left open once this applies. The concept, if you will, to be very straightforward, very generic. This is the open office type situation for the president of a company, the boss of a company. You're always welcome to come in my office if you have any questions, if you want to discuss things. And this office, for example, happens to be the president's office, and I want to go discuss a raise and so on and so forth. When he comes in the morning, the only person that have access to his office is his card and maybe one or two people in the administration that would be able to access that office. So once the president walks in, he's the only one who can access that door. He opens the door, he walks into his office. He wants to be able to leave it open physically. But we are monitoring that door with a door contact. So now, when the president walks in, we access the door and we leave it open. After 45 seconds, that door, the buzzer output will start activating, it'll start beeping. And then 15 seconds later, in other words, after 1 minute, the door will constantly beep, a continuous beep sound at the door indicating that it's propped open. Now, when you're expecting or when you want to be able to leave the door open, this can be very detrimental. So what we want to do is we want to be able to leave the door open, even though it hasn't relocked after the unlock time. Do not activate the buzzer output. When the employee walks into the office, it's a private conversation. We want to be able to have privacy, for example, to discuss this touchy scenario. Close the door behind you and have a seat. When the door closes, we don't want to be disturbed. We want that door to still be controlled for access. So if someone else tries to walk in by swiping their card, deny them access because we're in the office. So that's what the can be left open. If I could give you a bit of a heads up, I would be very careful to implement this feature on any perimeter door on a building. As a matter of fact, I would try and, if at all possible, not do this on any perimeter door that I'm, especially if I'm monitoring the door with a door contact, do not implement this because this means that that door, if someone forgets to close it in the evening, the buzzer will not be activated. There will be no event generated. So be careful with this. Interior doors inside the building, secondary priority, if you will, as far as security aspects. Well, then by all means, like the office, the boss's office, while he's in there, there's no secure issue. So that type of situation. So be careful with this, with your perimeter doors. Not something that personally I would recommend by any means. I would go away from there with any perimeter doors that I'm monitoring. Okay, so this is your privacy left open, open office, open door type scenario. The double swipe feature here. Now, double swipe, as the term indicates, this reader, if you will accommodate the concept of a double swipe. Where are double swipes used? With alarm integration to be able to arm and disarm an alarm system. This is where the double swipe. So if you're implementing alarm integration with the ATRIUM product, the key option is to be able to use a card, the access system, to arm and disarm the alarm system. So when I leave the building at the end of the day, I'm the last person, I want to arm my alarm system. As I'm leaving at the exit door, if you will, at the perimeter, to arm the alarm system, I will double swipe my card. Provided my card has the option enabled to be able to arm and disarm, then that will work. So will this particular door be part of that whole concept where it will allow the double swipe to be activated? So in other words, you can indicate which doors in the building do you want to be able to arm and disarm the alarm system? Is it all the doors? Is it some door? And if they are, and if you are doing this, well, you got a double swipe to do that. Okay, so this implements the double swipe option for that particular door. Now, the other cards in the system that just are accessing that door on a normal daily basis, even if they swipe their card twice, it's only the cards that have the option enabled that will be able to pursue the whole concept of arming and disarming the alarm system. The other area or the other option that comes to mind, feature, if you will, in the ATRIUM system. The double swipe is with the lockdown scenario. So another important aspect, especially in these times that we're living through. So if you are implementing lockdowns, one of the features is you can start or stop a lockdown by using cards. Do you need to double swipe a card or single swipe, and that kind of stuff. So if you are implementing the double swipe feature to be able to start or stop your lockdown, well, the doors where you want this to be able to function have to have the double swipe option enabled here. And this is not valid by default. Okay. So with alarm integration and also with the lockdown. Uh, that brings me to the lockdown enabled field here. The lockdown enabled, uh, every door in the system, if you're implementing lockdown by default, will become part of the lockdown situation. So when I do implement lockdown, whether it's through a card swipe or through the operator, uh, all the doors will, readers will deactivate and denying access to all the cards except for lockdown cards in the system. However, there might be in certain scenarios and certain sites that we don't want all the doors to be part of the lockdown. So if that is the case, simply deactivate those particular doors. Maybe secondary doors within the building that were the janitor's room that we control access, but it doesn't have to be part of the lockdown scenario. So whichever door you want to do that. Okay. Moving along here, update user location on. And user location usually works with anti-passback. Okay. And one of the things that we can do with anti-passback is you're increasing the security. And the term anti-passback, very generically, very quickly, without getting too much detail, you do entry and exit readers. So you need to swipe your card to get into the building, and you need to swipe your card to exit the building. With this concept, so you have two readers on every door. With this concept, you'll be able to, for example, in evacuation scenarios, find out who is still in the building because they haven't swiped out yet. With that said, now there's a little caveat if you're doing this where if I update the user location on access granted, if I don't have door contacts and I want to do this in and out entry exit type scenario, I must enable this option here to indicate to the system when there's an access granted at that particular door through the door configurations of my different doors in the building, you are in. When you're in another door, so each of these doors, as soon as you swipe your card, it will say that you're in that particular part of the building. Your access granted is the flag. However, it can happen. Swipe your card, someone calls you on the cell phone, and it's an emergency scenario. So the door unlocked, but you never actually entered through that door. You had to go back to the car and go pick up your daughter that was late in school and all that kind of stuff. So the access granted event might not be the perfect event if you're being very stringent or very strict on your entry and exits. So if you want to do that, to update the user location, well, wait till the door opens. So have the person open the door before we consider you in or out after you've accessed that door once you swiped your card. So, of course, this here does require that the door does have a door contact monitoring the particular door. So wait till the door is open, not just the card access. So this user location, very quickly here, I'll just come back to this menu in a moment. When I go to the users menu, the location, let me see, synchronize, show location status. Okay, so I'm in my user list here, show location status. And this will show us, here we go, the location and at what time. So when this has been implemented, all the process, this is what those two fields in the door menu refer to. Do you update the location of the card or the user as soon as he swipes his card, the access event, or do you wait for the user that swiped his card, got the access event to actually open the door? So that's your options regarding that, and that's where it has an impact on your system for the users, if you will, to be able to list who's in and out. So these are your two options. Okay, the timing, I've been referring to this on a couple instances. This is your lock output. when I have an access granted, when I create a request to exit, when I unlock the door to buzz someone in, how long will the door unlock? It's 5 seconds. That can be increased or decreased. It's typically 5 seconds is a pretty generic value. In the industry, you'll see typically anywhere from 3 to 10 seconds as unlock times on most access control products out there. You can unlock, the maximum value here is 255 seconds. That will actually function, and that's 4 minutes and 15 seconds of unlock time. It's not door open time. It's two different scenarios here. So we're being very precise here. This is your lock output on the control panel. Okay. By default, it's 5 seconds. Okay. And that can be increased or decreased accordingly. Now, the extended unlock, that's with your American disabilities, your physically disabled, the people that are that's selected with the extended unlock time. In addition to the normal unlock time, we will give you an extra 15 seconds by default. So the lock output will not only activate for 5 seconds, it'll activate for 5 seconds plus the 15 seconds. Okay. So this is in addition to your normal unlock time. Now, who will have that extra 15 seconds? Which people is in the user's menu, and just completing the option here. Here's the extended time in the user menu. So any user in my system that I've added to the system, so the physically disabled, the elderly, they would have this option enabled. Those users, when they go in our door menu, how much additional unlock time will they have when they swipe their card and they have an access granted is according to the field that we have here, the unlocked extended time. Open too long warning or pre-alarm. Open too long alarm. I showed that a bit more before, where you do need a door contact to manage these two. And if the door was accessed or permitted, was unlocked lawfully, if you will, with an access granted, request to exit, whatever the case may be, if the door doesn't reclose within 45 seconds after it opened, after 45 seconds, the reader will start beeping. It'll flash red. And it's a warning signal. It generates an alarm, an event in the system. If the door is still unlocked 15 seconds later, still hasn't closed, then we go into full-blown open too long alarm. And these scenarios can be used as trigger elements to be able to fire off emails, to interact with external devices using relays and so on and so forth. Okay, so these are your tolerated open times for your doors without generating any alarms. Of course, once again, just finalizing here, these timings as far as open too long and open too long alarm, you must have a door contact monitoring your door for that. The access mode that we see here, these are options that are related to the integration that we did with the Schlage wireless handles. They have some features that they implement when they're working in standalone modes. Now, we've integrated the LE, the NDE Allegiant products into the ATRIUM system, these wireless door locks, if you will, door handles. And these are different options. The apartment mode is an option that allows me to, in an apartment building, I'm a tenant, I own, condo type thing. When I get to my door, the door is locked and I come home. And what I want to do is when I swipe my card, I want the door to remain unlocked because I'm expecting company this evening. There's going to be people coming over. So while I'm in my apartment, my condo, my home, whatever the case may be, if I'm inside there, I swipe my card, it was locked when I got home, swipe the card, keep the door unlocked. So that someone else can simply, if need be, knock and I'll let them in. I don't have to go unlock the door for them. To relock the door, I will then, as I'm leaving the following morning, for example, to go to work, or at the end of the night when I go to bed, I'll go and swipe my card at the door again, or push a button, the interior push button, to relock the door. So the apartment mode. The classroom storeroom is a little different, where The door will unlock and remain unlocked. It's as simple as that, as long as I want to. When I want to relock it, I just go swipe my card once again to relock that door. So that's the most common one, I think, that we in our world, especially in commercial applications, company applications. Think about shipping doors. We've got moving into apartments, for example, in condo application. We don't know how long it's going to take, so we'll unlock the door, and once we're done, we'll swipe our card to relock that door. So that's your classroom and storeroom option. The normal is the one that we typically do. That's the default setting. So normal status of unlocking a door, request to exit and schedules and all that. And the last one is the privacy. Now the privacy option is built into this for sanitary, is for washrooms. So we have in a building, there's on a certain floor, there's a washroom for that whole floor, so different offices in the floor. So one, we need to control, because it's not just the people that work in this particular floor, other people, visitors and so on, also come in here. We don't want them using our bathroom, so you need an access card to get into there. But while I'm inside the bathroom, I don't want someone else with an access card to come to the bathroom and unlock the door. So the privacy option allows to disable the reader from the inside, if you will. When I swipe my card, I I'll enter into the washroom, and when the door closes, it relocks. Any other card that is swiped while I'm in there will be denied access because it's occupied. Uh, you need on the interior, inside the actual washroom. Now we want, when I'm finished my business, I leave. I need to reactivate the lock so that the following person can swipe their card and go into the bathroom. So you need an inside push button input. So usually with the Allegiant, the Slage, the LE, the NDEs, if you're familiar with those products, there's an option that you can add to your handle on the inside portion of the handle. So the interior of the door, you'll have a button that you can push. And that's what that button is used for, to deactivate the privacy mode. Now, in our case, you could either use that button physically on the handle if you ordered it, or you could use any normal button that you have that you would want to use, and you push that button, and you would connect it to one of the two inputs, if you will, on the ATRIUM control panel. So that would deactivate the privacy mode. Okay. So these are your four options here. I think the more 99% of the time it'll be normal. The next most common, although exceptional, is probably your classroom. And if you are doing the washrooms, apartments, depending on where you're at, the actual site. I'm not too familiar with many buildings, residential type buildings that have that option. So maybe in universities is something that they use this quite extensively. However, in my access control ATRIUM world, it's not something that we do very often. Okay, so this covers the different meanings that we have there, different fields. Going over to the right-hand side of the screen here, a lot more information for you. The configuration side, side A, and then we have side B. These are, if you look at this and you step out a little bit, give it an overview, we're seeing two sides of a door here. The door, side of the door where we have the reader, the exterior, and on the other side of that door, we have the interior. We see there's a door contact up here. So you're looking at the door from the edge, if you will. And here's your lock device. So when you're on this side of the door, and 99.9% on the side A, the area is left blank. When you're doing anti-passback, when you're doing some advanced features, this is where you can start dealing with putting areas on both sides of your doors. But if you are going down there, I recommend, if you're not very familiar with this, try out, do some practice at your office. Give our guys a shout out at our customer care, our support department, and be able to do that just to make sure that you're running through the process correctly. But more times than not, we're seeing 9 times out of 10, if not more so, you have a reader on the outside of the door, and you'll have a request to exit device, or maybe even a secondary request to exit device on the interior. However, you could have reader in, reader out. If you are doing reader in, reader out, that's where the two areas would become interesting. If you are doing reader in, reader out, typically you don't have a request to exit in those type of doors. So we'll remove the request to exit input and we'll put the secondary reader on there. Okay, so if you're doing reader in, reader out, now with the A22K, one of the new advanced features that we have is you can put two readers on the same reader port with the crypto solution. Whereas with the previous editions, if you want to do reader in, reader out on the older panels, if you will, you need to use two reader ports with that case. So just for your information here, you'll be able to do reader in, reader out with one reader port with the let me see, door one Rex, the front entrance Rex. There we go. Okay. The Rex input that we see here, this I use when there's a request, and it's not unheard of. It comes back every so often. Is to be able to have, for example, the receptionist or the hostess be able to buzz someone in, a visitor, for example. So we are controlling access. You do need cars, but we also have visitors and there's public that can come in. When that's the case, we want to be able to have our receptionist buzz someone in. So you could add a secondary input or a secondary button for your request to exit. So I have either a motion detector or a request to exit button at the door itself. In addition to that, the receptionist, just further down the hallway here, she sees the camera and buzz people in. I want to be able to do it from her desk. Put a button at her desk and connect it to the input on your control panel. Okay. So your readers and inputs, my door contact input, by default, these are all pre-programmed. You typically don't need to meddle with these. It's preset. The system automatically configures this for you. However, if you want to fine tune, these are the fields that you can come and tinker with the whole process if you're doing advanced features or if you want to modify certain different options, the way the door reacts. Okay, so allowing a receptionist to have a buzz someone in type situation. The only caveat I want to bring forward with this typical solution using a button is at that desk, think of a school, the secretary to let parents in during school hours, because we do lock the doors on during while the kids are in class, letting them in. The only issue is when I'm pressing the button, it's generating a request to exit event. So I know that the door was unlocked, but was it someone that was leaving the building because we have a motion sensor at that door, or is it the receptionist that was letting someone in? It's a request to exit. I cannot decipher. That's where it might be interesting to have another reader on that particular door and parallel it. So keep that information in mind when you're doing that. If you want to identify who is unlocking that door at that desk, you might need to do a reader solution. So pushing a button works. It's very cost efficient, very easy. It's just a button, but the traceability just goes out the door literally with that option there. So keeping in mind the plus values and the flip side of the coin when you're doing these features. All right. So request to exit inputs, door contact input, the readers, we saw reader in, reader out, the lock output. This is the LK1 and LK2s on your control panels. Okay. And what this means, here's an option that, every once in a while, not as often, but we do get this request. I want to be able to unlock the door with this reader. Well, I'll keep the scenario with the receptionist. Want to be able to unlock the back door for the shipping. So our shipping department leaves at, let's say 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We're open till 5, so we do have someone at the front office, the administration receptionist, that is still in the building. Every so often, the UPS guys arrive late. We want them, they have an intercom. We want to let them in. So we want to be able to allow the receptionist to unlock that back door if need be. So we got a reader at the back and all that. In addition, on that door that is the let's say the shipping door, okay, we want to be able to unlock that door. Now, we could also say, we'll put a reader instead of a button on that door. Okay, we'll put a reader at the receptionist's desk, and when she swipes her card at that reader, it'll unlock the rear door also. So any reader in effect in the system can unlock any door in the system. By default, reader 1 unlocks door 1, reader 2 unlocks door 2, and so on and so forth. But this is all logic based. The logic is simple. It's 1 to 1, 2 to 2, 3 to 3. However, 1 can unlock 3, 1 can unlock any other door in the system. So this is another option that you could, when the request comes to you, this is something that you could promote. Say, yes, we can do that, and we actually know who unlocked that door to let the UPS delivery guy in by swiping the card. Okay. The camera option here. Okay, this is integration with Vivotech, and as we see right now, it's not activated. So I'll just quickly here, permit me, without getting too far into the Vivotech camera integration. What we allows us to do is to be able to use an IP camera from Vivotech, and on certain access events or door status events, trigger that camera to record up to, I think it's 50 seconds or 1 minute of video stream from that camera at the door when the event happened. You can go back, if I'm not mistaken, 10 seconds prior to the event. So quick scenario here. We've got a Vivotech camera at the door, an IP camera. We've connected it to the ATRIUM system through the IP address. Once we've done that, if there is an incident at the door, door force open. So we're monitoring the status of the door. Someone is trying to bust that door down. When the status becomes true, in other words, the system detects this door as a forced open, tell the camera to record the video. It'll start up to 10 seconds prior to the actual event starting. So if I had this 0 seconds, well, I'll go back 10 seconds. So when I see the door forced open event, it's at 2 o'clock exactly. Well, I want to record a few seconds before to see what was going on as, was the guy kicking? I see the guy. I want to record a little bit before. You can go up to 10 seconds before. So you're adding your cameras in the system. And once your camera is added, you can then associate the different events. Now, I'm not going to go through the whole process, door camera, just quickly here. And I might do another webinar at one point in time for this. I'm just hoping that right now, just to get this webinar, to go back our door menu and see the different events that can be used as triggers. Go to the advanced option. Okay, here's the door camera. And here are the events. Okay, so once again, Vivotech integration, IP cameras. You set it up, and we can go through the process. I just named the darn thing. But once you get that activated, what are the different conditions that you want for the camera to start recording when these events are happening? Okay, so I think more often it's usually alarm conditions, if the door was open too live or was forced open, that kind of stuff. If there's a problem at the door with my contact, and it's up to you to choose which one. So you see the different events that you can choose and activate the recording. Now, this is recorded on the little SD card that's integrated or that you purchase and insert into the actual Vivotech camera. The ATRIUM system does not interact with VMSs or NVRs. It's a direct connection, if you will, directly to the camera and the little SD card on that camera. So with that said, this is a very basic integration. However, it can get the job done. But if the way I look at it, I don't rely simply on ATRIUM to do this integration. If I have to, it's something that I might want to do, but typically this video recording stuff, I'll rely on a product that actually does that kind of stuff. So get the VMS software or an NVR going and use that as your main video camera. This is a nice in addition to, or if I can't do that, well, at least I have something. But don't put this forward as your perfect solution for all NVR or VMS requirements that a customer might have. It's very straightforward, very basic. Okay, so some camera integration, and do you want to do it when it's on this side of the door, or is it on that side of the door? When you're leaving, you might have two cameras on that door, and that type of situation. Okay. The decrement, not detriment, but decrement counter option is we've added a feature in the system where through the user menu, so as you see, everything ties into other things in the system. In the user menu, we have the option for counters. And what we can do is say, for example, after 15 uses, the user, the card that he uses will be deactivated at certain doors. Is it which, all the doors, one door only, certain doors? This type of situation, think of it as a membership scenario, a pay-per-use type thing. Physical fitness center, the tanning room. We offer packages. It's not part of the membership that we sold you. If you want additional, hey, we can give you that. Well, you can purchase a bundle of 15 tanning sessions, and after the 15th session, your card for that particular door will expire. Okay. You can also say, if you haven't used your 15 sessions by the end of the month, well, too bad for you. You will be expired at that particular door where we're doing the decrementing of the counters. Okay, so that counter option that we're talking about here, at which doors will the count actually be made, is in the door menu, and you select which doors in your list, which one is the tanning salon door. In other words, if you follow through with my thought process, and that's your decrement counter. So when you swipe your card there, you'll be able to go there 15 times. So this would be my tanning salon door. Okay. So when you reach 0, you can't go back in. You got to go back and re-up your membership to include your tanning sessions. So on which side of the door do you want to do these counter options? Okay. Now, scrolling down a bit, voila, there's a little bit more that I need to talk to you about here. The unlock options, and they're both for the reader side of the door and the request to exit side of the door. Okay. Unlock options, of course, with card. If you're doing a system with just PIN numbers, you could actually deactivate that and put your PIN schedule to always. Okay. And you need your keypad code. All right. If you are using cards or readers without PIN numbers, you need to implement that. It is there by default, by the way. Okay. Now the card and PIN. So if you have reader and PIN and keypad, this is an option where customers will ask. The application is that it comes back every so often. Is I want to be able to access my door if I forget my card. People tend to forget their cards in their wallet that's at home and all that kind of stuff in the other purse. So if ever I forget my card, I want to be able to put my PIN number to be able to access the door. So that's your OR option. To do the OR option, just simply leave it by default and make sure your schedule is set to always for your keypad part. Okay. So what that actually means right now is either the keypad will work or the card will work. And once that is done, well, according to your access rights and who you are you allowed in, all that kind of stuff. So if you want to do card or PIN, this is your option. Now, to enhance security, one of the things people tend to lose cards. I just mentioned that. Forget it. If you happen to have lost a card in the driveway, the parking lot, and someone picks it up, they're probably tempted to try it out if it works. So by having the card and PIN, well, not only do you need the credential, you also need to know the PIN number. So augmenting the security of that particular building to be able to access that building. If you want to do the OR option, do not activate the AND pinned option, and make sure your schedule or your PIN schedule is at always. Now, if you don't have a keypad, all of this is simply leave it to blank. You can actually remove the keypad code and so on and so forth. All right, so your card and PIN or card or PIN. So card or PIN number, this is your option. If you want to do card and PIN to augment security, what's the schedule? So this PIN schedule is when do you want the keypad portion of your reader keypad to be active. You could say only during the nights and weekends, for example, that you need to swipe your card and put your PIN. However, during the daytime, normal office hours, we're locked, but just swipe your card, and we don't want to use it during the week, for example. The keypad code, of course, if you are using keypads, you need to keep that option enabled, which it is by default. If you're not using keypads, you can leave these options. It's neither or, but rule of thumb here, typically, this is the situation. Now, if you're doing the request to exit, I talked to you about the having the buzzer in with your request to exit. So on this side of the door, if I'm doing that, we're putting a button for the receptionist and so on and so forth. Well, I want to be able to generate a request to exit. So this has to be part of it. You need to put your schedule or your keypad. Okay. All right, a little bit of feedback there. Sorry about that. All right, so keypad code, the request to exit, even if door open. That's extreme, if you will, exceptional is probably the better word. If you're a door contact, if you are monitoring the door and the door contact has failed, the door will be in left open status after a certain amount of time that we've defined in the system. Well, if we want to request exit to continue functioning, even though the system thinks that the door is left open or in alarm, well, this is the option that you need to do. Don't forget to implement your schedule. Now, the two last options, interlock on this side and then the two-man rule. I think two-man rule is pretty straightforward, where you need to have two cards to be able to access the door before the door will unlock. Think of it as a vault, a secure area between a clean room and a pharmaceutical type company. You need to have two people to swipe their card before you can open that door. So the two-man rule is pretty straightforward. The interlock is also termed in many places as a man trap. And what that means is two doors cannot be open at the same time. So if one door is open, the other door must remain closed. It will not unlock. Think of it very generic type application, a vestibule where there are two doors in this vestibule. So the exterior door, when I open that door, it's the cold winter outside, and there's an interior door 4 feet ahead. Well, that door must remain closed while the exterior door is open. Even if someone's inside and trying to access that second door, the interior door, the door will be the car, the user will be denied access until the exterior door closes. So this door, we want to create an interlock. On the other door menu, on that door, you would also put the interlock on the same side. Okay. So your man trap option. So for every doors that are working together, you're going to enable it on that side of the door, the interlock. Okay. So that covers the different advanced options of the menu. And as you can see, there's quite a few of them. 99% of the time, in my experience, you might enable one or two. Your unlock schedule might be the one that you'll be using with. More often than not, these are exceptions to the rules. I want to reassure you, the default settings in the system, Centaur, that's our other product, the ATRIUM product, it's pre-configured. Once you connect to that system, all these fields are populated for you. You don't have to tell the system which lock is which. If you want to modify what it has done by default, this is where you can come and implement your modifications. Quickly here, the events tab I showed you a bit before through the web browser, and we can actually do the same thing here. So who has been to my door? Here's all the events. Here we have a detailed view, which displays all the events that the door can be generated by a door. If you want, you can filter that out, make it a little bit less populated, if you will. And here we're seeing just lock and access type events. Detailed view will give you more to see what the door was edited. I was tinkering, it was unlocked by an operator, it was forced, and so on and so forth. Whatever the case may be, you can always use that and then click a report, generate a report for that particular door. All the reports can be exported. Here are the different formats: Acrobat, Excel, CSV, XPS, Web Archive. I think PDF, CSV, and Excel are your go-to ones. If you want to print it out, here's your printer, and so on and so forth. Number of pages in your report. Okay. Last but not least, couple notes. What I would suggest here is the technician that installed it, who asked to do this, or if you're doing anything. This has no impact on how the door will function. It's just a matter of giving you some additional information that you can maybe take a few extra seconds when you're installing and configuring the system to indicate that information here. So that's the door menu. Over here, the print option I want to show you, very useful. Print the door configuration. Let me see, we just go through print. Let's say all items, and we'll put it on screen here. So what we're looking at here is my 2 doors in the system. It's a door report. The lock is the front entrance lock. It's the first door on the panel, first reader port, second reader port, that's the ID. Which is the name for the door contact, and so on and so forth. So very straightforward. Print a summary report of my doors, or I've selected one door in particular in my list, selected items only. And we're seeing it gives you a little bit more information from what we just saw before. You can tinker with that. I think one that's really sweet that answers a common question is to print the door access rights. So who has access to this door is what this is allowing me to gather and create a report on. Okay, so the users that will have access to the door number 1. The users that would have access to each of my doors in my system. So for each door, give me a list of the people that have access to that door. Now, of course, my system, there's only the default user, so there's only one user that has access cards. This is why you have that, but this is a nice report to be able to say who has access to my doors. So go to the door menu and the print option and your access rights. The detailed is your door configuration with all the little intricacies that we just worked with a few moments ago. So if you want to reprogram your system, this is a way that you could actually have all the information you need by simply running through each doors and creating these reports for you. And have a physical copy, just print it out, save it in a PDF file, and so on and so forth. So managing and maintaining the system for your customer also. All right, so I've pretty much done all the information I want to give you about this. All right, then. So that'll be it for today. Thank you for your patience. It went a bit longer than I expected, but that's all good. And please, everybody, stay safe. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.